My next visitor says the Nasdaq's 3% drop yesterday isn't a justification for concern. It's a purchasing a valuable open door, and he's looking at one gathering specifically that stands to profit from forceful spending plans. Computer-based intelligence framework organizations like Arista and Broadcom. How about we acquire Quality Mr. He's overseeing Accomplice at Deepwater Resource the board. Quality, all right. We should rewind. Recount to me the narrative of the 24 hours that returns to Letterset's profit and what befell the market and whether it was legitimate. In this way, Letters in Order gave no new gradual data of interest about the headway that AAD made throughout the course of recent months, and that scared financial backers. They had carried out their generative pursuit to the US and UK, and financial backers were trusting that they planned to offer something else around the adaptation piece. Likewise, when they discussed the capex, they said that capex would be above what it was in the primary quarter. Thus, a few financial backers were perusing that as a smidgen of a logjam in capex. Thus, that blend, I think, truly scared the simulated intelligence exchange. Thus, I feel that was the beginning of this pullback. It sort of inspires us to down 8% or so from the July 10th high, essentially for the Nasdaq. Not a profound pullback, not. That is like the very thing that the pullbacks we had sort of during 94 and 99. Yet to Kelly's response, your inquiry, Kelly, that was the justification for the pullback. As that is a decent arrangement for what you will express next about where financial backers ought to be looking and why you have certainty that this pullback was. I couldn't say whether we'd say unmerited, yet not something to stress over more comprehensively as you would see it. Precisely. Thus, contemplate the artificial intelligence exchange terms of these sections. I think the following 1 to 2 years, it's actually about capex. Furthermore, I referenced Sumner's remarks about capex. He likewise said that they need to keep on financial planning to remain important. The previous evening, Zuckerberg was on a web recording. That's what he said on the off chance that they don't continue to spend in simulated intelligence. They might pass up on the greatest open door in the following 10 to 15 years. They might overspend. However, they can't dial back. Thus, I simply need to focus in on that capex piece since it's basic. We referenced Broadcom, Arista, organization, a portion of these organizations, yet as long as the framework is being set up, the same length as these large tech organizations keep on financial planning, which I feel that they will. He's spending more than whatever most financial backers trust over the course of the following several years on capex. As long as that occurs, number one, the chips, the equipment organizations will proceed to work, and independently, it establishes the groundwork for the application to work. We saw a splendid spot connected with ServiceNow the previous evening, as I'm most hopeful since that capex number. On the off chance that it planned to reduce it down to 1 point, it will be higher for longer, and that is great for simulated intelligence. Anyway, as financial backers thoroughly consider their portfolios for the following, year or somewhere in the vicinity, do they leave super cap tech in there, or do they sort of move to the sidelines, perhaps go with the recipients of this spend, and afterwards sort of hold on to perceive how it ends up actually working? All things considered, assuming that you accept, there's simply a focal inquiry that all financial backers ought to pose. Do you accept, or how much do you accept simulated intelligence will be groundbreaking? Assuming you're in my camp, which I figure it will be more extraordinary than the web then, at that point, the little organizations and the enormous organizations will partake. Thus, I think the response according to our viewpoint. Assuming we contemplate our leader Titan Reserve, we have both more modest and huge cap. On the enormous cap side, the best situated organization is Google, only one with an establishment model, high-level silicon, and a conveyance of 4 billion individuals each day. In this way, Kelly, getting straight to the point, both will work. Assuming artificial intelligence wins upcoming year what a portion of the promotion is, I figure it will surpass it. We will see a 3 to 5 year buyer market that will end in a fantastic air pocket burst. However, we have a great deal of chances among now and that 3 to 5 years. I know it's so fascinating the way that we as a whole know the situation, but similar to you said, assuming it finished now, history books wouldn't actually remember it as an air pocket. We're not even close to where we could be. You can prevail. You know, how hard might it at any point be? What's more, it's most likely a course reading endlessly. You know, you're likely one file paper away from sorting this out. Thus, I invested a ton of energy perusing file papers, and it's valid. It's valid. You can. Presently, obviously, you can't figure out how another person follows through with something and do it the very same way and expect to have an alternate result. Yet you could figure out how something should be possible and afterward return to first standards and ask yourself, given the circumstances today, given my inspiration, given the instruments, the devices, given, how things have changed, how might I retry this? How might I reevaluate this entire thing? How might I plan it? How might I construct a vehicle today? Could I construct it steadily from the 1950s and 1900s? How might I construct a PC today? How might I compose programming today? Does that appear to be legit? Thus, I return to first standards constantly, even in the organization today, and just reset ourselves. On the grounds that the world has changed, and, the manner in which we composed programming in the past was solid, and it's intended for supercomputers. Yet presently, it's disaggregated, etc. Also, our opinion on programming today, our opinion on PCs today, our thought process, just consistently cause your organization, consistently make yourself return to first standards, and it sets out endlessly bunches of open doors. Definitely, the manner in which you applied this innovation ends up being progressive. You get all the energy that you want to initial public offering, and afterwards some more since you develop your income multiple times in the following 4 years. However, in the entirety of this achievement, you choose to turn somewhat the focal point of development occurring at NVIDIA in view of a call you had with this science teacher. Might you at any point educate us regarding that call and how you came to an obvious conclusion from what you heard to where you went? Keep in mind, at the center, the organization was spearheading a better approach for doing figuring. PC designs was the principal application. However, we generally realized that there would be different applications. Thus, picture handling came, molecule physical science came, liquids came, etc. A wide range of intriguing things that we needed to do. We made the processor more programmable so we could communicate more calculations maybe. And afterward, at some point, we created programmable shaders which made all types of imaging and PC illustrations programmable. That was an incredible leap forward. Along these lines, that's what we imagined. In addition, we attempted to search for ways of communicating more modern calculations that could be registered on our processor, which is totally different than a computer chip. Thus, we made this thing called CG, I think it was 2003 or so. C for GPUs. It originated before CUDA by around 3 years. A similar individual who composed the reading material that saved the organization, Imprint Hilgard, composed that course book. Thus, CG was really cool. We composed reading material about it. We began showing individuals how to utilize it. We created apparatuses and such, and afterward, a few scientists found it. Large numbers of the specialists here, understudies here at Stanford, were utilizing it. A large number of the designers that then, at that point, became engineers at NVIDIA were playing with it. Several specialists at Mass General got it and involved it for CT recreation, so I flew out and saw them and said, how are you folks doing this thing? And they enlightened me regarding that. And afterward, a computational quantum physicist utilized it to communicate his calculations. Thus, I understood that there's a proof that individuals should utilize this, and it gave us, steadily more certainty that we should go do this, that this field, this type of processing, could take care of issues that ordinary PCs truly can't, and it supported our conviction and pushed us along. Each time you heard a new thing, you truly relished that shock. And that is, by all accounts, a topic all through your initiative at NVIDIA. It seems like you make these wagers such a long ways ahead of innovation enunciations that when the apple at last tumbles from the tree, you're standing up too far off in your dark cowhide coat, holding on to get it. How would you track down the certainty? Gracious, it appears to be a jumping get. You do things in light of center convictions. We profoundly accept that we could make a PC that takes care of issues ordinary handling can't do. There are cutoff points to what a computer chip can do. There are cutoff points to what universally useful processing can do. What's more, there are intriguing issues that we can go settle.